This is my audience for speech C. American real wages peaked in 1978 and have largely stayed the same since, despite a continuous growth of GDP per capita, resulting in a widening level of economic inequality, according to an article published by the Pew Research Center. A Marxist distribution of wages, not based on exploitation, would greatly improve the living standards of the majority of Americans. I've spent countless hours doing personal research in economics, as well as spending time reading specific studies and papers for this speech. So what can be done to lessen these economic inequalities? After World War II, many countries across the world greatly increased their government social spending. It was spent on things like healthcare, education, unemployment relief, and social security. With these policies, wages continued to grow almost parallel to GDP growth all the way until the 1980s. It was in the 1980s when the US government under the Reagan administration adopted a set of neoliberal policies that many of these policies were reversed. This resulted in a lowering of wages, a crackdown on unions and lowering of union membership, slashed social services, and an increase in low-wage jobs, according to Rosenberg 1987. This also resulted in a major shift in the income distribution of the US, almost entirely towards the top 1% of income earners, according to the Economic Policy Institute. But there is a severe limit to government policy effect on economic inequality. This is because the primary source of funding for these services is from capitalist enterprises, and it requires the very exploitation of workers to fund these services. As noted by economist Hayek in his book Capitalism. Now, it's frequently argued that the increased social spending of governments in this period from after World War II to 1980 caused the major deficits that caused the economic slowdown of growth in the 1980s. However, in a study published by economist Anwar Shaikh entitled "Who Pays for Welfare in a Welfare State?" his evidence directly contradicts this claim. It shows that among wage earners and salaried workers, the taxes they pay is almost directly parallel to the amount of social services they receive. And in the case of America, they actually paid more in taxes than they received in social services. This means that this social spending could not have been the cause of the major deficits that slowed economic growth, and in the case of the US, directly lowered the deficit. So, what do I prescribe to lower the economic inequalities we face? In his book, Towards a New Socialism, Professor Paul Cockshaw and Alan Cottrell outline a system of distribution based on workers receiving the full fruit of their labor. What this means in the US is that the average American worker earns $11 an hour, yet he produces $60 an hour. The remaining unpaid $49 an hour goes directly towards the employer. A redistribution of wages based on value created would result in the median hourly wage being an astounding $50. The current median income is $67,000 a year. Under this type of Marxist distribution of wages, it would jump to $107,220. This means that the average earner now would experience an increase of at least 63% to his purchasing power. This would result in an astounding increase in the living standards for the majority of Americans, with the exception being a very small percentage of non-manual male workers. They would experience a lowering of income. I hope through this speech you see the benefits that would be achieved by lessening economic inequality and achieving an economy not based on exploitation, but based on a Marxist distribution of wages. Thank you.